Okay, here we go. Vayishlach. Okay, let's get serious now. Let's get serious. I want this to change your life, everybody, because I don't think you realize that your greatest enemy you've ever faced, the one who could destroy you, the one who could, God forbid, take away your world to come, the one who could make you fall, the one who is at you the whole time is you. Your Yetzer Hara. And tonight we're going to give you the 7 Kabbalistic techniques of how to win, how to beat the Yetzer Hara. I'm actually amazed, Lian Hara, I'm still standing, because I don't think the Yetzer Hara wants this talk to go place, because we're going to give strategies how you can combat it. So, Yetzer Hara, I love you very much. You can join me, and therefore don't hurt me. We're all in this together. But that's the way you speak to the Yetzer Hara, by the way. That's like you get him involved. Buy him, get him in. And B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to give you 7 tips. So, it was Yardena. Where's Yardena? You said you liked the idea. I give you like tips because I'm a life coach as well. Which, by the way, if anybody, I've got 2 available slots for clients at the moment. If anybody's interested in coaching, I'm a coach, and I'm trying to now combine coaching to Torah, to music. So I'm going to give you always some go-aways tips. So there'll be 7 tips that you need to use these at different times to defeat your Yetzer Hara. But first of all, let's set it up and explain why it's connected to this week's parasha. This week's parasha is Vayishlach. It's the famous story between Yaakov and Esav, where just in last week's episode, Jacob was just running away from Esav, his big nemesis. And the famous line, which we say in English, and I found out the Hebrew expression, which I'm really excited about, I'll let one of you say it. This famous line called, "Let sleeping dogs lie." Do you know how to use it? What's the expression in Hebrew? It's about bears, apparently. No? Right, you don't wake up the bears, or so you don't wake up. So who's that referring to, Yaniv?
Sorry?
Who's don't wake up the sleeping dog? The Zohar says in this week's parasha. If any of you have got if you ever got a nemesis, Esav, someone who's like on you, someone who's like kind of like your penguin to the Batman, right? You're the Joker to the Batman. Your nemesis, the person that's always kind of like trying to have conflict with you, and you're thinking, oh, let's try and make up. If it's been quiet for a bit, don't wake up. Just leave it. just keep quiet. Shaket. Shaket. Baruch Hashem. Shaket. Yaakov made a terrible mistake. Yaakov's coming in. He says, no, there's Esav. Maybe I'll make shalom with him. Whoa. The Zohar says, Rabbi Shem Bar Yochai, what are you doing? There's quiet. There's peace. Don't wake up the sleeping dog. Esav is... But he decided, and he said, Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav. He said malachim. We'll speak about that later. And this is the story where Yaakov and Esav meet, but before they meet, something happens. There's this pasuk in the Torah which says like this. Let's see if you can understand it. Vayibater ish levado. Right? It says Yaakov was by himself. He's by himself. Anyone know why he was by himself? Anyone know? Why was he by himself? Was he smelling? Did he, was he have corona? But why was he by himself? He was by himself because, as Rashi says, shachach pachim katanim, which means he forgot some jugs. Meaning, he was with all his family and they left some jugs on the other side. And by the way, I told the group earlier, which by the way, if you come at 7 o'clock, you'll get the Hebrew in depth with the Rashi of this. It was the Hanukkah jugs, the mystics say. Yaakov saw that these jugs were going to be the jugs that were eventually going to save the Jewish people. The menorah, the actual jugs, where it was the one jug of oil which lasted for 8 days, that was in, according to Kabbalah, Yaakov Avinu's time. It was already in Yaakov Avinu's time. And he forgot them and he went to the other side and went to pick them up. And then it says, Vayelbek Ishimo, a man started wrestling with him. Do you know there's a WWF fight in the Bible this week? It says there's a wrestling match between Yaakov and this man. Who is this man? Now, has ever you seen the film Fight Club?
Of course.
So this crazy film I think is based on this parsha. because they're big Talmidei Chachamim Fight Club. They didn't realize, big tzaddikim. Because Yaakov was fighting himself, according to Kabbalah. There's no one there. Who's fighting with him? He's fighting himself. But he's fighting his inner world. He's fighting the Esav within him. According to Kabbalah, Satan himself. And according to Kabbalah, there's no difference between Satan, the Yetzer Hara, and the Angel of Death. They're all the same. And they decided to take out, that's why Darth Vader Luke Skywalker fight is this week's. It's the ultimate fight between good and evil. That's what's happening. Who's going to win? Good versus evil. An evil thought, we're going to take out the good once and for all. Kill him. Kill Yaakov, chas v'shalom. And by the way, the Midrash says amazing things. The Satan initially tried to play and put fire, and Yaakov laughed. I'm scared of fire? Are you joking? I am fire. Ani esh. And he said, my grandfather, Avraham Avinu, lived in fire. We're scared of your fire? Ma pitom. I don't know if he said ma pitom. But then, Satan says, okay, try this. And they started having a fight. They went for a proper fight. They're having a proper wrestling match. And the Kabbalah says an amazing thing. Satan couldn't be Yaakov because of the Tiferet. In the Sfirot, there's Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet. He saw Avraham Avinu on the right. He saw Yitzchak Avinu on the left. Yaakov was in the middle. Tiferet, he couldn't win. He couldn't be the Tiferet. There's no way you could win. So he said, you know, at the very least, the Fachot, bang! He punched him here in the thigh bone, which is, according to some opinions, why we can't have the Gidan Asher. And by the way, that punch, do you know what Satan was saying? I can't kill you, but I can hurt you. I can't destroy Am Yisrael, but I can do a Holocaust. I can do a crusades. I can do some terrible things. And that was a cosmic origin of so much of history which is unfolded. Yaakov then wins. Baruch Hashem, he wins. And that's why we change from Yaakov to something else. Because at the end, Chazal say that the angel said, I've got to go now. It's Shacharis. Satan himself prays every morning. Netz Hachama. Netz. When it's sunrise, that's the best time to pray. When you wake up in that morning of sunrise, you hear the birds tweeting, the angels are tweeting, the angels are praying. Satan himself joins the minyan. Satan said to, I've got to come and join you. I'm going to come join you. And Yaakov says, you're not going anywhere till you give me a bracha, which means till you admit that I'm right, I win, you lose, give me a bracha. Do you know what Satan did? He said, what's your name? Your name embodies who you are. He says, Yaakov. He said, no longer. From now on, you're called Yisrael. Meaning Kabbalah, Yaakov is the heel. You go to Yisrael, which has got the word Rosh Li, my head. You go from the heel to the head. You now win. It also means Yisrael, which means to struggle with God. If any of you struggled with God, guess what? We all struggle with God. It's okay to struggle with God. At least you're talking. At least you're in a relationship. Don't turn your back. And that's Yisrael. And then Yaakov said to the angel, what's your name? And the angel said, Lama zeh tishal l'shmi? Why did you ask my name? Politicians learn that from Esav. They don't answer the question. Lama zeh tishal l'shmi? And amazingly, Yaakov said, okay, zeu, nigmar sipur. Why? The mystics say because his name of Satan is Lama zeh tishal l'shmi? Why do you ask my name? There's a really cool film called The Usual Suspects. There's a line in the film says the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was not to know that it's there. From this week's Pasha. Lama zeh tishal l'shmi? I can't let you know who I am. If you know who I am, you win. So you'll never know who I am. And Yaakov understands that. It says, Peseba. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to explain how you beat your Yetzer Hara, because this is the parasha which says how Yaakov won. We're going to give you the weapons that Yaakov had at his disposal. But before that, we need to just come up with a song. The first one, and what we're going to do is we're going to just focus on the miracle of the fact that Esav didn't win. Esav's tried to win time and time again. And your Yetzer Hara, you should know, you can have ups and downs. It says in Mishlei, everybody falls, everybody falls. In the Matrix it says that as well. Everybody falls. But we get up. The Tzaddik, it says, falls 7 times, but v'kam, we get up. Hashem helps us every time. By the way, the biggest way you're going to save the you can't be the Yetzer Hara yourself. Only with Hashem's help. So we're going to sing the song of the failure of Esav and the success of the Jewish people. The Vakadosh Baruch Hu Matzileinu Mi'adam. I want you to join in with us. Maybe close your eyes. Really enjoy this beautiful, beautiful tune from Yonatan Razel. We're going to have 2 Yonatan Razel songs tonight. Lavoseinu V'hishiyavra Lavoteinu v'lanu Shlo echad b'vad Man aleinu l'chad Oteinu lecharteinu Vehi sheyamda lavteinu. Join with me. Vehi sheyamda lavteinu v'lanu shelo echad b'vat madaleinu lecharteinu madaleinu lecharteinu Yakadosh Baruch Hu You want to win the war? When you go home, let's do this. Step 1. Yaakov Avinu knew the secrets. You've got to ask, what's his name? You've got to ask your Yetzer Hara, what's your name? What is your Yetzer Hara? Who is it? Where is it? When is it? Because the Yetzer Hara is changing. It's got different masks on it the whole time. It's not just one. The Gemara in Sukkah, page 51, says there's 7 names for the Yetzer Hara. The Gemara in Chulin 91 says sometimes he's an idolater, sometimes he's a Torah scholar. Let's explain. Sometimes the Yetzer Hara is Lavan, sometimes it's Esav. Lavan is when it's intellectual, when your Yetzer Hara is trying to tackle you intellectually. Oh, that's such nonsense. You know, can't be that Shabbat was exactly when Hashem told Moshe how it is now. They didn't have air conditioning then. That's the Lavan Yetzer Hara. By the way, it's good questions, but there are answers. Most people stay with the questions. If someone really has a question, come and see me. We'll give you the answers, and then, we love questions, but get the answers. The Yetzer Hara just likes to stay in the question. But then there's the Esav Yetzer Hara, which is, I really want this, and it's really wrong, but I just want it. When it's that physical lust. So you've got to call it. What is it? What is your Yetzer Hara? Rav Hillel, my Rabbi, says everyone's got an Achilles heel. Everyone's got a Yetzer Hara, which is why you're here on this world. And it's really hard. And it's really challenging. And this is why you're here. And it's so hard, that's why normally you have to come back and try again. So some people it's anger. Some people it's laziness. Some people it's inability to control lust. Some people it's ego and arrogance. And if it's all of them, oh yeah, come and see me later. You've got a long evening. You've got to work out what trips you up. Why is it the relationships break up? Why is it that the job doesn't work? Why is it you feel flat? You've got to unmask it. You've got to ask, what is it? And tonight I'm going to share with you a new word that I want you to learn. Okay, so we're going to use a lot of our Wednesday night experiences, the Yetzer Hara, because that's what we're fighting against. So just by the way, very quickly, this is the way it works. If you ask, a lot of people think they're the Yetzer Hara, chas v'shalom. But I've got a quick question for you, Victoria. If you're not, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? David, who are you?
I'm a neshama.
No, you're not. Hashem is a neshama. And neshama comes from Hashem. So who are you?
I'm a part of Hashem.
So who are you? That's Hashem. So where are you? I'm just looking at Hashem now? We're all just Hashem's?
Yes.
So then there's no point. Then there's no point. Because Hashem didn't have to create this experiment if it's just Him. There's something unique about you. And I give you a proof. You say in the morning, Hashem, thank you very much for the neshama shenasata bi. Mi zahabi. Who's the me? We say, thank you Hashem for bringing the neshama in me. Me, who's me? So is it the Yetzer Hara, chas v'shalom? The Yetzer Hara is the guf. The guf isn't you. This hand isn't me. Your body isn't you. So if you're not your body and you're not your soul, who the heck are you? By the way, if you need to see a therapist afterwards, I've got a really good life coach I know about who's got 2 clients available, yeah? So here we go. Listen to this. This is amazing. This is mind-blowing stuff. And Freud stumbles on it from Kabbalah, and that's where he talks about the child-adult parent. Says Rabbi Dessler in Michtam Eliyahu, which you should be buying by now because I speak about it every week. There's not 2 of you, there's 3 of you. Sorry to really mess you up.
I think I have 4.
That's a different story. Some people have 34, but let's start off with 3. And the 3 is the following. It's like when you're driving in a car, and please God, one day Hashem will afford me to have a car in this country, right? One day I'll have and afford a parking space, right? So, and everything else to do with it. So one day I'll have a car in Tel Aviv, but when I'm in London, I'll go back in 2 weeks, I'm in London, I have my Waze telling me to go right. But we don't trust Waze, because Waze is a bit rubbish sometimes. So I have Google Maps as well. And just in case Waze gets it wrong. So I have Google Maps, and sometimes you get the situation, Google Maps say go left. Shammosim. Yamina, smaller. So some people just cry. Some people call the police, some people get out. You are not Google Maps, and you're not Waze. You know who you are? The decision you make at the end. When you make a finally, now by the way, especially men in Tel Aviv, sometimes they never make a decision.
Yeah.
Sorry, right? A bit of humor sometimes, right?
Why the men?
Sorry?
Why the men?
Especially men.
It's a deep kasha. Rabbi Tatz's talk on male and female will explain to you the difference. Exactly. So, by the way, some women have that male issue too. They're right. It's not men and women, it's male, female. So
male polarity.
It's the male. I'm not going there, that's a different shiur. But listen carefully, and on Facebook they say Rabbi Hill, focus. So like this. Very simple, you are your decisions. You are somewhere in the middle. You are an independent filter which gets to listen to your Yetzer Hara, gets to listen to your Yetzer Tov, and then you make a decision. Today, do I align myself with Hashem or align myself with the devil? There's nothing else in between. Wow. Nothing else. You're either friends with the devil or friends with Hashem. Most people are friends with both most of the time. But on a deep level, tonight, Baruch Hashem, you've come and you've chosen to align yourself with Hashem. You've overcome all the temptations that are out there right now and you didn't have to come to tonight. You smashed it, guys. Smashed it. The question is, when you leave this room, who are you going to then become friends with? We oscillate. We become friends with the Yetzer Hara, friends with the Yetzer Tov. And who you are is who you align yourself with. Now, step 1, therefore, is to work out who are you. There's a beautiful story I read today from one of my heroes called Moshe Weinberger, who's I'm trying to be honest, build a community in Tel Aviv similar to his one. It's called Esh Kodesh. It's full of Baal Shem Tov Torah, full of love, full of music, full of light. That's what I'd love to build in Tel Aviv with Hashem's help, with your help, with Yoniv's help, with David's help. So, here comes the story. It's a very deep story. Someone came to the Beis Halev with the following question. He was a very, very wealthy man, a super wealthy man. And he lost his money. He lost his money and he came with a question. His question was, there's a Rambam which says if you give charity, you'll never be harmed by giving charity. If you give charity, that will never harm you financially. So he had this question. I gave a tremendous amount. He was giving over 50% of his money to charity. And in the end, Hashem made him super poor. And he said, how can that be? That Hashem promises, and that's the only time you can test Hashem. Hashem says, you can test me. You give charity, you'll always be looked after. So, Echse. So, the Brisker Rav said the famous story in the following. He said, I'll give you an answer of what I heard. The Brisker Rav, a few years back, was going to this community and he saw on a grave, a tombstone, the following strange writing from Eshet Chayil. Kappa parshali ani, v'yodeh shilcha le'evyon. Which means she spreads out her hands to the poor man. And it's a very weird thing on a grave of a man to say she spreads out her hands. Who's the she spreads out her hands? So the Brisker Rav wanted to find out who this person was. And he found out it was the same story. It was a story of a man who was one of the wealthiest men in Brisk, super wealthy. And then he lost all his money. But poor people didn't know he lost his money, so they kept coming to him. So there's this famous story where this two poor people came and asked him for money. And he said, I wish I can give you 1 minute. Maybe I've got something somewhere in my old cupboards. And he just wanted to give. And he looked in his cupboards and he found a gold spoon. And there was two people. So he broke it in half, the gold spoon, and gave each poor person, and he was so excited that he could give this gold spoon. Soon after he died, and they put that on their thing, because kappa, from the word kapit, which by the way I had to do Google Translate this week of what a spoon was in Hebrew. I should have just waited to learn Torah. I didn't need Google Translate, just needed to prepare my shiur for today, that I would have saved some time. So kapit is a spoon, so kappa, and then the yodeha means the handle. So the Kabbalists would say that is alluding to this amazing act of giving his last, even as he was poor, he still wanted to give tzedakah. So the Brisker Rav, so you see from here that you can be rich and then poor. And maybe they said the reason in Brisk where that happened, because he gave too much away. The promise is only if you give up to 20%. The Rambam says even if you're a millionaire, you shouldn't give more than 20%. And if you give more than 20%, then the skula to protect you isn't necessarily kept. But then the Brisker Rav said one other point. He says, I don't understand the question. Because in life, Hashem changes. Wealth is a test. And just like the Yetzer Hara changes its face, sometimes the test changes its face. And that's why if any of you in your careers are hitting the top of the ladder, don't be complacent. Don't think you're there forever. Most people have ups and then they fall off the ladder, they go the downs again. And then there's ups and there's downs, and Hashem wants to see, it's all a test to see how do you handle it. So the first thing you need to understand is situations are tests, your Yetzer Hara is a test, and you need to know who is your Yetzer Hara, but this is the game changer. You ready? There's going to be two big game changers tonight. Game changer number one is, you have something called the from Yetzer Hara. You ever heard of that? A Yetzer Hara dati. Yeah. Yetzer Hara, afilu efshar lagid charedi. Right? Mazeh. It's the one that gets me the whole time. Let me explain. You think, like the Yetzer Hara can come say to me when I leave tonight, Rabbi Hill, there's like a nice restaurant with selling pork. Go and eat some. I can tell you I have zero desire for that. Zero desire. But let me share with you something personal. One thing you'll see from my talks, not that my wife likes it sometimes, is that sometimes I'm not talking about you, Donnie, it's all right. Right? But I sometimes share like my inner world with you so that you can understand the spiritual challenges we go through. It's a way of me really trying to share. So I'll tell you from Yetzer Hara problem I had this morning, and honestly I still don't know the answer. It's so complicated. Here's the thing. It's the weirdest thing. The Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. Normally I wake up. I normally I'm a night person. I can be up 1, 2 o'clock, not a problem. But it's hard for me to wake up, to be fair. For 51 years of my life, it's been hard for me to wake up. Until I've come last month to Israel. And every morning now, at about 4:30, Hashem taps me on the shoulder and says, okay, time to get up. And I wake up. I'm like, no, go back to sleep. And I try and go back, and I can't. I just can't. So I've realized Hashem, I'm not sure, wants me to go and wake up and do nets. And my father, in his last years of his life, he did Netz HaChama. And maybe that's what Hashem now wants me to do sunrise every morning. So sometimes I do it. Don't mind doing it. If I then can go to have a little sleep afterwards to give me a bit more energy, because if I only go to sleep at 1 and I wake up at 4, I'm not going to really be functioning very well. So I thought, you know what? I've been doing it over the past few weeks. Then I go back to sleep. But today I hadn't prepared the shiur. So there's no way I could go back to sleep because I've had meetings. That's it, my friend over here at 2 and meet someone else at 12. And I had only from after Shacharit till 12 to prepare this shiur. So I'm like, I can't go to sleep. So I honestly, when I woke up this morning at 4:30, I had no idea what Hashem wanted for my life. One of my voices, I don't know which one it was saying, Yalla, sunrise. Hashem wants, and the other voice is saying, but then I'm not going to be able to share Torah, or I'll be in my bed there lying. It's like, be good, everybody. I don't know who knows what I'll be saying, and I honestly, I don't know what Hashem wanted. So I don't know if I did the right thing. I said, I think I need to make sure I find a way to get back to sleep. And I'll go back to sleep. It's the first day in a while I haven't done sunrise. And I'm thinking, was I wrong? Was I right? I have no idea. When I went to yeshiva, I have no idea. When I was in yeshiva, my From Yetzer Hara went overtime because I went to yeshiva and I was so excited. So my From Yetzer Hara is like, Avi, this is amazing Torah, amazing. I want you to stay up till the last person to leave the yeshiva, and then to be the first one in the morning. I said, I can do that. So for months, about 3 in the morning when the last quiet, I learned till about 3 and got back in at 6. Because prayer. And then I got sick because my body couldn't take it. What an idiot, right? Total muppet, right? The From Yetzer Hara got to me because I forgot about the biggest mitzvah of looking after your health, looking after your body, which is also a mitzvah. Do you know what I'm saying? Sometimes the Yetzer Hara disguises itself with a big black beard and a big black coat, or even a white beard. Not as Father Christmas, but a different white beard. And you don't know. You think it's a mitzvah, but really it's dressed up as a mitzvah, Yaniv, but really it's an avirah. It's complex, no? I'm sure you have it. It's musubach. What does Hashem want? It's really complicated. So that's what you need to start working out. Who is the voice? And that which you might have thought there was a voice in here. By the way, the voice that told you to come tonight was definitely the Yetzer Tov, that's for sure. That's 100% sure. But the voice that's watching on Facebook now, this is the right channel to watch. But there'll be things over the next 24 hours when you start investigating, you won't be sure. Okay. Step number 1. Okay, so step number 1 is I'm masking. Step number 2, here we go. Step number 2. Let's go quickly now. At the end, then, let's ask questions here. What I'm going to do is, I like going through the whole thing, and then Rabbi, write down your question at the end. I'm able to stay till 2 in the morning because I slept. So it's good. I'm good. We can ask as much as you want. Here we go. Step number 2. It's a brilliant book. It's called Misalat Yesharim. In chapter 2, it's called Zehirut. Zehirut means you've got to strategize. You want to be your Yetzer Hara, it's a war. My friends, you're a war. You think it's not with the Arabs around you, it's with the enemy within you. You're at war. And you can only win the war if you come up with a plan, a strategy. How do you do it? How do you beat the Yetzer Hara? I have no idea. So you've got to strategize. So l'dugma. One thing even worse in Israel than in England. Do you know what they have here? Road rage. You've seen road rage? By the way, it's a hilarious one today. Literally, that corner. This poor girl is trying to cross the road. And this driver starts screaming at her for the audacity that she's crossing a road. It was a crossing, you're allowed to cross a road. Right? And he's screaming, and it's like, chill out, everyone. Relax. What are you doing? Where does road rage come from? Do you ever get road rage? If you get road rage, ask yourself, where does it come from? Do you know where I think it comes from? Sorry to say. The Gemara says the core aspect of road rage is ga'ava. Is arrogance. Zarachov shali. Zamachonit shali. Za'olam shali. Even that, right? So how dare you get in front of my space? And this is what I need you to understand. What is the way to deal with that, my friends? How do you combat that? You've got to work on your ego. You've got to come on Wednesday nights. We're going to be doing a lot of talk working on the ego. Whether it be meditation, whether it be humility, whether it be charity. But what I'm trying to get at is you've got to strategize. L'dugma. A lot of people have lots of arguments with their flatmates or with their spouses. But then maybe they're arguing because they're hungry. Literally, sometimes people just get angry because they come out from work, they haven't eaten all day, and we're at our worst when you haven't eaten. So a little strategy, maybe I'll eat first, and then have important conversations. In other words, every averah that you do, you need to think, why did I do it? What are the triggers? And how can I combat those triggers? And if you want to learn more about it, it's in chapter 2 of Mesilat Yesharim. It's called Zehirut. I've got talks on it on our YouTube channel. That's number 2. Number 3. Here we go. Says the Chavetz Chaim, the great holy Chavetz Chaim, he asked the question, why is it the Avram Avinu, Satan didn't start with him. Yitzchak Avinu, Satan didn't fight with him. Yaakov Avinu, Satan tried to kill him. Avram wasn't like a frum guy. Avram had tzaddik. Yitzchak had tzaddik. Lama b'miyuchad Yaakov. What was special about Jacob? Says the Chavetz Chaim. Listen to this. Your Yetzer Hara will allow you to give charity. Your Yetzer Hara, which is Abraham, your Yetzer Hara will allow you to have the Gevurah of Yitzchak, to pray. Your Yetzer Hara will do everything it can to stop you learning Torah. Yaakov is Torah. Torah is the most important, critical factor in defeating the Yetzer Hara. We write Barasi Yetzer Hara in Gemara Kiddushin, Barasi Torah Tavlin. I created the Yetzer Hara. Torah is what? Is the medicine. The medicine to defeat the Yetzer Hara is Torah. So the third strategy is, my friends, even for 2 minutes a day, have Torah in your life. The Yetzer Hara hates it. The Kliyaka says, like even now, B'ezrat Hashem, now, what I'm hoping is, when you're learning Torah, I'm hoping, if you're really with me, if you're really connecting, the Yetzer Hara can't get in. Yetzer Hara is like a fly, says the Kliyaka, waiting for a crack to appear. When you're learning Torah, that crack doesn't appear. That's why sometimes you can learn 3 hours straight. The Yetzer Hara is waiting. The angel of death tried to kill King David. He couldn't kill him because he wouldn't stop learning Torah. We said angel of death, Yetzer Hara, Satan, they're all the same. Learning Torah is going to protect you. It says the Gemara in Sukkah, if the Yetzer Hara starts on you, if like you have a big lust, if you feel you can't control your lust, says the Gemara, Mashchehu lebet hamedrash. It says take the menuval, take the corrupt one, and slip him to the base of medrash. Come to a Rabbi Hill talk. Go to a Bet Midrash. Open up Sefaria. Open up a Shior. Start learning Torah. All of a sudden it gets quiet. So that's step number 3 to learn Torah. Step number 4. And after 5, we're going to hear a song again. Number 5. So number 4 is tefillah. Do you know what it says? It says an amazing thing. If you want to beat your Yetzer Hara, you can only beat it if you pray for it. You've got to pray. If you don't pray, it's not going to work. You've got to pray. Any success in your life comes from prayer. You need Hashem to help you. It says the following verse, Vaye'avek ishimo, a man wrestles with him. Anyone work out the numerical value of Vaye'avek? Vov, Yud, Aleph, Vet, Kuf is 119. The mystics say, says the Imrei Noam, do you know how Yaakov beat Esav? He opened up Tehillim, Kapitel Kuf Yud Tes, number 119, and that protected him. One of the greatest ways to protect you from your Yetzer Hara is to open up Tehillim, Sefer Kuf Yud Tet, it protects you. And by the way, Kuf Yud Tet's a very long Tehillim, so I can assure you. You start saying, it's 176 verses, I've counted. You start saying it, by the time you finish it, the Yetzer Hara has gone to sleep. The Yetzer Hara, okay, you win. If you say like Mizmor David, the Yetzer Hara is still out, it's worth waiting up for. Right? You start Kuf Yud Tet, and you're not going to finish it, the Yetzer Hara is going to go to sleep. And by the way, it says, Veishlach Machla Bachim Lefanav. Lefanav is Gematria 176, which is the Psukim of Kuf Yud Tet. So, Vaye'avek Ishimo, I would highly recommend, my friends, you get to Tehillim, you say 119 where the Yetzer Hara is striking, B'ezrat Hashem, that's going to help you. Next step. Yaakov Avinu, he did 2 things. We're going to sing a song about it from Yonatan Gazel. The famous song, Katonti Mikol HaChasadim, is from this week's Parsha. Yaakov Avinu said, Katonti. Do you know what he did to Esav? He went and bowed down 7 times. He bowed down 7 times. When I go to the mikveh sometimes, I try and just literally bow. It says the Kabbalist, erode your ego. When you bow down, there's no ego. Like, just a bow. It's the most amazing feeling. When we're standing upright, the Yetzer Hara is, psh, look at me. When you're down and out and it just prostrates, it erodes the ego. Yaakov Avinu, in front of Esav HaRasha, he went and lay down 7 times. And by the way, in Kabbalah, he was connected to lots of sfirot. He was doing lots of Kabbalistic amazing things. But he katonti. If you can work on your ego, and if you can get to a place of katonti mikol chasadim, you start saying, Hashem, I'm humbled. Can you imagine? He wasn't afraid of losing riches. He said, katonti. In this generation, so self-entitled. If I don't have that, if I don't have that, we should be the opposite. We should be in a place of katonti mikol chasadim. And it's a famous verse from this week's parsha. There's a beautiful song from Yonatan Razel, and it goes a bit like this. Here we go. Everyone join in Asher Asi Tayimadi Katzonti Mikol HaChasadim Umikar Haemet Asher Asi Tayimadi Katzonti Mikol HaChasadim Umikar Haemet Asher Asi Tayimadi Katzonti mikol hachasadim umikar la'emet asher asita imati. Beautiful song from this week's parsha. Two last points. So we've said, let's just do chazara. I saw Yadera who was writing down? You writing down? So what's number 1? Let's go. What are the steps? What's step number 1? Victoria, come on, you must have written it down. What's step number 1?
Ask yourself
who are you? Who are you? Number 2, unmask the Yetzer Hara. Number 2. Guys, girls, wake up. What's number 2? It's called Zehirut. Strategize. You've got to how are you going to win? What's the strategy? It's a battle plan. You need a battle plan. By the way, an amazing book I recommend, from an amazing woman I'm going to try and bring to Tel Aviv, called Rabbi Heller, called Battle Plans, about overcoming the Yetzer Hara. Amazing book. The whole book's dedicated to that. Hashem was having a laugh. I went yesterday to go and get the book to see if I could find things. Sold out. So I went to the other shop, Manny's, to get it. Sold out. So I was like, okay, Hashem, you funny. Had to find other books. It's a great book. Next one. Number 3. What was number 3 we said?
Pray.
Torah. Because Torah, Avodah, Gemilas Chasadim, right? So first of all, Torah, you need to learn Torah. Next, we said prayer. And then we said Anibut. And now it's connected to the next one, called Chesed. Just Staka Tatzil Mimavet. When you give charity, it saves you. You want to be safe from the Yetzer Hara every day of your life. Give charity, 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 charity. There's so many homeless people, it should break your heart. You should have lots of coins on you. Ask for coins. You shouldn't just give a shekel, 2 shekel. Just give, 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 give. You're in a place of giving before you pray. Give. Get into this place of giving. The yud and the hey and the vav and the hey is referring to the yud is the coin, the hey, the hand, the vav, outstretched arm, the hey, the other person. You're completing Hashem's name. Every time you give charity, my friends, you're completing His name. We're going to have a story at the end about charity. And the final game changer, everybody, and this is the twist tonight. You ready for the twist? The twist is, and this is why most people go wrong, and this is why maybe some of you have struggled on your spiritual journey. Most people hate their Yetzer Hara. In fact, sometimes I've done that. I've made that mistake. You know, I'm a big football fan. I don't know if there's any football fans here. So I'm a big Tottenham Hotspur supporter. So the big nemesis of Tottenham Hotspur was a team called Arsenal. And we had a player who was our captain, who I used to love so much, called Sol Campbell, who went to play for Arsenal. And he's not like that anymore in Spurs. So sometimes, if I want to beat my Yetzer Hara, I say, Sol Campbell. I say, talk to my Yetzer Hara, call it Sol Campbell, and it gives me energy. But if you some people call the Yetzer Hara all very bad names, but that's a mistake. And Chassidus has taught me there's a whole different approach. Are you ready? Ready for the twist? Says Reb Tzadok HaKohen, V'yohavta l'reacha kamocha. Love the ray in you. Love your Yetzer Hara. Love, become best friends with your Yetzer Hara. Give it a hug. Give it a kiss. It's your child in you. Love the child in you. We should stop feeling guilt too much. We have too much guilt as Jews. The Torah doesn't do guilt. The Torah does growth. The Torah does teshuvah. Teshuvah is not about guilt. Teshuvah is about, okay, you got me yesterday, let's beat tomorrow. Torah is about, you have a lust, you have a desire, channel it. Find a kosher way to channel it. That's how it works, my friends. One of the big mistakes people make, everybody. One of the mistakes we make is we start hating our Yetzer Hara. We start having guilt. Relax. Hashem gave us the Yetzer Hara. If we learn to, sometimes I say to the child to me, listen, I've now moved from Tel Aviv, where there is crazy ice cream mahadrin shops right by me, and like every time I'm passing it, like eat me, and I'm big into my iced coffees, and there's iced coffees everywhere. So I say, okay, you know, my wife is very good. Before we came, she said once a month. I'm like once a day. Once a day. But if it was for me, I'd do it 3 times a day. I think iced coffee is like Shachris Ben Chamariv. You know, I need my morning iced coffee and my afternoon, you know, ice cream and but I'm once a day. But I'm not saying never. You say never, it's asor, you're gonna be repressed. You're gonna feel zelot bishvili. So you have to create. Hashem wants you to learn to love your Yetzer Hara, to learn to appreciate it, to learn from it. There's a great story of Rabbi Chana Wasserman, the big Rosh Hashiva. They found him once learning by himself. They said, why are you learning by yourself? You normally need a chavrutah to learn with. He says, I am learning with a chavrutah. They said, who? My Yetzer Hara. They said, I don't understand. If you're learning with someone, at least learning with your Yetzer Tov. He goes, nah, my Yetzer Hara is much cleverer. I learn. My Yetzer Hara is genius. I told you. Something happened this morning. I have no idea if it was good or bad. It's so clever. It can just confuse the heck out of you. So you have to say you're great. So now you have to use the Yetzer Hara on itself.
But how?
Through these 7 areas. And sometimes one area is the clever. Like work out, for example. I'll give you an example. The Yetzer Hara works by saying, whoa, you know, I need a bit of luxury. I need a bit of nice food. So we say to the Yetzer Hara, oh, you like luxury and nice foods? Yalla, come to the Crown Plaza Hotel for a Friday night, and I'll give you luxury. And I'll give you nice, and we'll make Kiddush.
Yeah.
And we'll get a mitzvah in. And we'll do some Shabbat. And the Yetzer Hara doesn't know what to do with it. It's like, no, זה לא בשבילי. למה לא? Do you understand? We use the Yetzer Hara on itself. Work out what works for you, and then use it for spirituality. Do you understand? Yes. So that's the idea. That is the idea. 2 last stories. Number 1, the Kedushas Levi Yitzchak Beditchev, believes not only should you love the Yetzer Hara, you should have a good relationship, you should talk. There's a famous story of the Kedushas Levi. He's in the synagogue, and I'll teach you something now. According to Kabbalah, when you lift up the Sefer Torah on Shabbat Mincha, there's crazy orot. The lights, because Shabbos is going, the lights, the letters of Hashem's name, people who really can see these things, it's doing crazy things. And the Hasidic shuls, the Rebbe always picks it up. The Rebbe does Hagbah. So he's the rabbi, and he was going, and he was on his way to do Hagbah, and all of a sudden he stops. He stops. And the whole shul's waiting for him. We're going. And he stops, and it's another minute, 2 minutes. And then, they see the great Rebbe, the Kedushas Levi, throw off his talis, and he says to the talis, if you want to do it so much, you do it. And he walks out. And afterwards, they didn't understand. What was he thinking? What was he saying? And they said like this. The Kedushas Levi said to him, I'll tell you the truth. Before Hagbah, my Yetzer Hara went crazy. My Yetzer Hara started saying, you're the only one in the shul that deserves to see the awards. You're the rabbi. No one else could even see the lights. Mm-hmm. So if you hear a bit of ga'ava ever, you have to shut it up. You have to say, no, that's not how Hashem wants it. Who am I? I'm nothing. I need klum. As David HaMelech says, Anochi tolat, v'lo ish, I'm nothing. So you talk back to the Yetzer Hara, Anochi tolat, I'm nothing. And the Yetzer Hara kept saying, I know, but you're still better than them. So the Kedushas Levi in the end said, okay, Yetzer Hara, you want to do Hagbah? You do it. And he gave the talit to the Yetzer Hara, said, Yalla, you do it. That's genius. Meaning we have to learn to talk to the Yetzer Hara. I'll give you another story that from my Sorg Rebbetzin Hedder's book. There was a big tzaddik, and he was on his deathbed. And his talmidim were there, the students were there, and they said to the tzaddik, you're on your deathbed, you're now finally out of the clutches of the Yetzer Hara. Tell me, what's it like? He goes, you think I'm out of the clutches? Do you know what my Yetzer Hara is saying right now in my last few moments? He's saying to me, make sure when you say Shema, you say it with tears. You cry, and then everyone will say what a great man you were. He says, it's not even left me now. It's still on me now. Do you know when the Yetzer Hara leaves you? When we leave this body. As long as you're living and breathing, the Yetzer Hara is there, and it's okay. And by the way, it's amazing. I think it's amazing. I wake up, I'm really slow when I wake up. It's amazing how quick my Yetzer Hara is. You know, that 1 second is like, hello. I'm like, yeah. What are you saying? And it's amazing how the Yetzer Hara never tired. And by the way, it's a bit like PlayStation. You're playing station, and like you win one level, you get to a certain level, the Yetzer Hara doesn't stay on that level. Kala gadol mimenu, yitzchak gadol mimenu. The higher you get, the Yetzer Hara is out. Okay, now work on this one. And he comes with a much more cunning plan, a different plan. And like, he gets you for a bit. And then you start working on it, you get better, then it gets to level 3, and level 4, and level 5. And you know what? The higher you go, the stronger the Yetzer Hara is. But I'll finish off with this story. And then we'll have a final song. My favorite. So, we always keep the favorite song till the end. And that's the idea. So like this. There's a story, and I'll finish, about how charity saves you. There's a man, and his name, I don't know if any of you in New York have been to a place called Macy's. Any of you been to Macy's in New York? So like everything, like every good shopping center, it was built by a Jew. And the Strauss brothers built it. And Nathan and Isidore had this big argument one day. What was the argument? Should we be investing our charity in Israel? And Isidore was saying, listen, we're in America, that's not our problem, If you want Nathan, you go and do it. Nathan says, yeah, it's Israel, it's our homeland, we need to go. And he went at the beginning of the century and started in Jerusalem looking up, building soup kitchens. And finally it was the opening of the soup kitchen. And Nathan was there so excited. And during that opening, Hashem did something. He tripped, he broke his leg, which in those days were very dangerous. And he's now in the hospital. He's in, I think it was the Hadassah hospital at the time. And Nathan is so upset. Why? Because he had something very, very, very exciting. He had the cruise of his life to go on. You can even give me a bit of that background for that cruise. There was a cruise that set sail on April the 10th, 1911. Like everyone? He was meant to be on that boat. He was there. And by being in hospital, he missed the boat. And his life got saved. Mamash from the Act of Chesed. True story. And all of you know Nathan Strauss. When you go to Jerusalem, Rehov Strauss, is after him. If any of you been to Netanya, Netanya is after Nathan Strauss. He built up Netanya. He did so much. But I heard this week something just mind-blowing. You all watched Titanic.
Yeah.
You know the story of right at the end of that beautiful couple? They were holding each other and they decided to die together. And the couple, I found out this week, that was his brother, Isidore Strauss, and his wife, who decided at the very end they're going to give their boats to others. What's the point of them? They give charity in the end. In the end, they gave charity. He didn't go to Israel, but he did Shuvah at the end and said, you know what? Let someone else have our boats. Even though they were the richest guys they could have had their boats. They gave it to someone else. Finally, it says, Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav. That's how the parsha begins. Yaakov sent angels before him. He sent angels before him. My friends, my parting message to you is the following. The Kabbalists say, next time you go to a situation, maybe a date, maybe an important meeting, send angels. We have the power to send angels. To say Tehillim, Tzadik Aleph, 91, Ki malacha b'tzav elach l'shmarcha b'chal tzrachecha. We send angels. You say, Hashem, protect me. You're sending angels. You do a mitzvah, you're sending angels. You go and send angels, they pave the way. They create light. They create love. They create blessing. Send angels, send love. Do that. You'll see, B'ezrat Hashem, huge siyata d'shmaya, huge divine providence. I give you a blessing. We should have the power, and you should have the power to send angels. And ki malacha b'tzav elach l'shmarcha b'chal d'rechecha. Adonai yishmot seitzcha bo'echa. Me'atzav be'ad olam. So there's a song I want to finish off with, and I'm calling it Hamalach HaGoel Shali. There's a beautiful malach. There's a beautiful malach. You meant to say every night before you go to sleep, Hamalach HaGoel. You all have your own personal angel that's there for you. Hamalach HaGoel oti mikol ra. So I'm going to sing Hamalach HaGoel oti in a way that none of you have heard it before. And let's do this. And this I need you to sing with, everybody.
There's an angel come to pay my fate. Do you know the places where we go when we pray alone? 'Cause I have been told that salvation, that's the wings unfold. So when I'm lying in my bed, it's running through my head, and I feel the love is dead, I
he plays jazz and Billy Joel, so give us out something. One of your favorites. I'm happy to take questions on the side if anyone has questions. Mandy, you had a question?
Yeah,
What's your question?
just the idea of 3 people beginning. It just drives me crazy, the idea of it being black or white. There's no like great, like you said, there's 3 people and we choose either bad or good. So it just drives me crazy, the idea that there isn't a grey area, something in the middle.
So it's a really good question. Really good question. But I'm sorry, like Kabbalah is very, there's God or the devil. Now, sometimes things are so confusing, like mine this morning. I don't know. Sometimes it's an act where some of it's good and some of it's bad. But it's coming, if you look at it intellectually and like hold the thread back, where's it coming from? And either the Yetzer Hara is holding it or the Yetzer Tov is holding it. And that's the complexity of life. But it's okay. And by the way, it's normal. We're human. We all have these conflicts. That's normal. Baruch Hashem.
Something can't be like medium.
No.
Like it's sort of good.
No. Sorry. Because, yes, but where's it coming from? It's either coming from Yetzer Hara or coming from Yetzer Tov. But by the way, it's complicated because sometimes what someone's Yetzer Hara is someone else's Yetzer Tov. Meaning, you're looking at me that way, Chana. Meaning, everyone's on a different journey. Everyone's on a different journey. So what's good for you is not necessarily good for them. It's about you. It's relative. It's beautiful spirituality. Hashem just cares about you. You're not comparing to anyone. It's like when you're in school. That person's cleverer. That's not fair. You think it cares? Hashem just loves you and wants you to become the best version of yourself. Zeu. And therefore, it's really important. Your spiritual journey is one step at a time. It's slow. It's done with love. It's not about, this is repressing. And you just got to be on that. Rome wasn't built in a day. Mandy wasn't built in a day.
Right.
Even your hair. Yeah.
You spoke about tzedakah,
Yeah.
but the thing is that when we know that it's going to bring only good to us, is it a real mitzvah when we give? But
Good question. Good question. So it's still a mitzvah, but it's better to do it for Hashem. It is. But on the other hand, lat. Mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. Sometimes you need to do things and get the fringe benefits. That's a good example of using the Yetzer Hara. You say to the Yetzer Hara, you're going to do well for livelihood if you give charity. The Yetzer Hara, if you go to Rabbi Hill's house, you're going to have great food. You might even find your shidduch, right? So you say to the Yetzer Hara, good thing. Sometimes you need to do that. When you get to a very high level like Reb Chaim Kanievsky, you don't need to speak to the Yetzer Hara anymore. Reb Chaim Kanievsky didn't know what food he was eating. He was so disinterested in the food. I'm not on that level, sorry. I like my salmon sashimi, I do, right? But I make a blessing on it. And an after blessing, so I hope it's okay. And I speak to it. It's like Shimon, we have a little chat, Shimon the salmon, right? We talk and I'm fixing him and I'm very into, my wife knows, it's very important to have fish on Shabbat. It's a big thing to have fish on Shabbat. You're fixing, so, I don't know what I'm talking about. But basically, I don't know, next question, he loves me.
I just
yes.
Sorry.
Come on, it's our first
No.
ever time. Oh,
No,
you
I
say-
just
Go on.
wanted to clarify
Yes.
from what you said. So being a good person is the first step to everything.
100% derech eretz kadma Torah.
Yeah, that's,
Before you can be observant and firm, be nice.
yeah.
As the song goes. Maybe we'll do that song next time, right? Be nice, right? Right, say it's about just be nice. But be nice without Torah, there's a limit. In the end, the Yetzer Hara takes that niceness and uses your niceness for its purposes. Someone goes and has an affair because I'm just being nice. Someone's sharing the heroin just to be nice. So if it's nice without Torah, doesn't work.
Oh.
You weren't impressed with that, Victoria? You didn't like that? Why not? But where do you think it comes from? You know, so sometimes when you're kind and you're nice, if it doesn't have gvura, if it doesn't have boundaries, doesn't have Torah, it's called chesed gone wrong. Rabbi Gessler calls it. That's Yishmael on a very deep level. Any other questions? Yes. First of all, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Hope you come again. Will you come again?
Yeah, of course.
Yofi.
I got a good friend from Jerusalem to come as
Awesome.
well.
Hope it was worth your time. Schalicha, very jealous. You get more rewards than me just walking down the road.
Yeah? Me?
Yes. Come, yes.
Yeah. So you said that the better we get, the Yetzer Hara gets better.
Not much. It's not me, it's the Gemara says that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
no, you
Yeah.
tell
I
that
repeat
today.
it.
I'm new to this.
Yeah,
So isn't it like scary to be better?
Good question.
'Cause
But good scary.
No, I know, but I sometimes it's get tired because you know that he's getting better, and you're like, I just got better. Why you always get better?
Because, think about it, if when you grew, the Yitzhara stayed there'd be no free will. There'd be no free will. And we're here in this world to have free will. The moment we don't have free will, we're not here anymore. The moment we're not here in Google Maps saying one thing and Waze on the other, what's the point? It's meant to be the fight. But you know what? Ever so often I ask Hashem, just 5 minutes, please, 5 minutes. And you get a bit of, listen, hello, Tel Aviv, the sea. It's not that bad here, let's be honest, It's not the most stressful environment in the world sometimes, So we're getting some times to chill. So it's a local kachra. But it's good. That's why we're here. We're here for the fight. We're here for the fight. I'll give you help. Now you're coming to us, Hashem will help you, and I'm with you. Right? You're no longer alone. We'll fight the Yitzhara for you. I'll give it a punch back. Yeah.
So does it mean that we need to know what our Yitzhara wants and then kind of give it to him?
Bidiyuk.
And then find a way to put Hashem in the way?
Bidiyuk. 100%.
Okay.
Beautiful. Any other questions? By the way, thank you so much for coming. See you around. Take care. And I'll be streaming more questions later. Bye. Good night. Goodbye, Facebook.